Welcome to 6 Months Later, the podcast 180 Days in the Making, where we talk to interesting people about their lives and their hopes for the future. And then we check in with them in 6 months to see how everything's going and how those hopes shook out. I am your host. My name is Matthew Shadorn, and I am joined as always by my co-host,
Tara Newton-Wordsworth. G'day. How are you?
Oh, wow. I'm good. Crikey. Are we doing?
Hey, you can't join in on my stereotype. If you want to be a stereotype, you got to stick to American.
Tara, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for asking, Matt. You're always so considerate. What about? I've got my hair cut. Oh my god,
very nice.
First time, I think since February. So whatever that is. I'm not sure what we're in September now. I forget what month it is. We're moving along. Well, actually, you'll be listening to this, and I'm assuming February, March.
In March, yeah. So some people will be like, "But you just got a haircut last month. Why are you so?"
Yeah, no one cares, or not, because we'll be on a new lockdown. But no, staying positive. I'm good. Yeah, I'm fantastic.
Did they cut your hair very short, or it doesn't look that much shorter?
No, to be honest, I mostly got a balayage. This is what the cool kids are doing now, which is kind of basically like they kind of incorporate different colors into your hair to make it look like you've got sort of highlights, but it's natural enough that if it grows out, it's not as much pressure as like if you get highlights which are really close to the head, and then as soon as they grow like an inch, then people are like, oh my god, you totally dye your hair. Whereas if you get a balayage, it's lower, it's sort of more natural looking, it can grow out and people won't really notice. This is what they tell you, but I mean, I can notice.
I noticed that your hair was different, but that's just because I see you every week though.
Yeah, that's nice. Anyway, it's meant to look natural, and also I
think it looks natural.
Great, thanks Matt. Your hair's looking how it always looks, so that's good.
Yeah, gray and disheveled, and yeah.
You don't get it, like you haven't ventured out to get it cut yet, have you? Have you had it cut?
No, Alice cut it.
That's right. Yeah.
Before I don't know, I think back in August or something, or July, end of July, she cut my hair, which is the first time she ever cut hair, it turned out all right. It was pretty much even all over. And
yeah, I thought it looked really good. I remember when she did it and I was like, wow, your hair looks good. I think you would maybe get her to do it again, I guess, or
you're
not.
You're probably right. No, you're probably right. It's starting to get unsightly. And I am starting to go back into work. So I'm like working in person and like seeing people every day. So I should probably look a little bit more presentable.
I mean, you look fine. Now, what's your week been like? How have you been? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I got some new shoes. I meant to bring them in here so I could show them to you, but
wow,
they're pretty cool and green. I bought them from a new shoe company that I ordered from called Karayuma's, and they I don't know, they're like eco-friendly, and so they plant 2 trees in the Amazon if you buy a pair of shoes. But I don't know, they looked pretty cool. And they're vegan, like no leather or anything.
They chopped down 7 trees to make the shoe.
It's not the best business model, but you know.
Sounds good. Well, I wish you'd go and get them, but we can save that for after, I guess. I do. I want to see these shoes at some stage.
I kind of want to mark this in time so that in 6 months I can be like, oh yeah, I've had those shoes for 6 months, and I can see how they turn out. If they're if they're still if they fall apart after 6 months or whatever. So I'm just using this as like a mental diary, like it's a memory prompt, so I can remember to check and see like, oh yeah, those shoes are 6 months old.
Wow, well, I'm sure the listeners are really grateful for that. So anyway, any other news other than the shoes?
No. Tomorrow we have our 20-week scan. That's very exciting.
Oh my God.
So we'll see how that goes.
How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I'm super excited. I get to go, which I didn't get to go to the 12-week scan. So I get to go to this one.
Oh, nice.
They lifted some of the lockdown. So that's exciting. That's the most exciting thing happening this week, certainly. What do you think about 6 months from now? I guess it's going to be mid-March, right?
Mid-March, yeah. I don't know. I'm feeling kind of a little bit negative today because I was so excited because I did these 2 comedy gigs on the weekend, which went really well. And I did a drive-in comedy gig to Cars, which was really strange, but also fun. And then a really great outdoor gig on Sunday. And I felt that real positivity of like, yeah, you know, we can do this. And then today, or was it yesterday, that Boris Johnson brought the new laws in about only 6 people gathering at once, and now it's like, oh God, did we just get like a taste of comedy and like now it's over again? And So, I don't know. I'm feeling a bit sad today. Like I was feeling a bit like maybe this is that. Maybe it's not going to be a good. Maybe in 6 months' time, we won't. But I don't know. I really hope this vaccine works out. So March next year, we'll be coming out of the horrendous February, I imagine, weather and coming into brightness and spring. And my son's second birthday, my second son, Samuel, his second birthday, he'll be able to go to nursery in April, which is epic. It means I'm going to have 3 mornings to myself for the first time in 3.5 years. I mean, it's going to be a great time. I'm feeling excited about it. How about you?
Oh, you turned that around. Yeah, that sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how my shoes do through the winter. But yeah,
mostly what I'm excited about as well. I just want to.
We're all excited about it. I feel like that the listeners are buzzing about it. I'll let you know, guys. This is a real time, not a real time, but like if you've heard about Cariumas and you're like, should I get them? You're gonna get an actual durability check-in at the end of this episode. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, shall we crack on? Yes, it's very exciting. Shall we crack on with our guests?
Yes, please. I'm excited.
To the interview. Today, we are speaking to Dana Cottrell. She is running for Congress in the 11th District of Florida, which is the district that I am still registered to vote in the United States. So she's essentially going to be my congressperson. So Dana, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. It's a beautiful day here in Florida. I hope your weather is the same in England today.
Yeah, it's been a nice day here.
Surprisingly.
It's starting to get into fall here. So it was a little bit chilly in the air, but not like Florida where it's always just quite warm and pleasant. So Dana, you are running for Congressional District 11. You are running as a Democrat. Good call.
Thank you.
Let's just kind of start out like, what is your history in politics and what kind of inspired you to run for Congress?
Well, it started actually in elementary school. I had these amazing social studies teachers from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, Mr. Villar and Mr. Russell. And they taught us about politics. They taught us U.S. history. For 3 years, all we had was U.S. history before standards, right? They took us to Washington, D.C. We went to Philadelphia. We watched current events every night, and we watched the world news, and we discussed this. And they also talked about some of the things that they felt were wrong with politics. And that was when I was going to school in the 70s. And that was one of the things was about gerrymandering and about pork projects in the budget, things that are still wrong today. And they just infused in me this passion and this love for social studies. So I became a social studies teacher. And yes, so I've been a social studies teacher for 28 years. And again, I love government. I love U.S. history. I love our country. And I just felt that the direction our country was taking in our representation through Daniel Webster was not the direction that I wanted to see our voting record go for environment, for health issues, for employment issues, for alleviating college debt. And I wanted to make a difference. So I said to my husband, and I talked to my family, that I'd like to run for office. That's something I've always wanted to do. I've always loved to serve and work toward the betterment for people's lives. And my husband felt that you are the best person. He said, you go for it. He goes, there's nobody I'd rather have representing us. So he's been my biggest supporter from the start.
That's
good. That's so beautiful. That's gorgeous.
That's great. I know, that's inspiring. Yeah, it's nice that I don't think I could ever run for office, but I mean,
it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah. I mean, I would certainly like power, but I don't want to have to work for power. But that's great. So you did run in 2018.
Yes.
And so this is your second campaign. Do you feel like you learned a lot from that first campaign? And you think how is the campaign going, do you think?
Well, it's very interesting because what I found is a lot of people vote by their party representation, their membership. And they're not finding out as much about the individual candidates and what the candidates represent. And that was very important for me to get the messaging out, but messaging that is correct messaging. I think we have become so partisan, and I look at what President Trump and the message that he sends about Democratic candidates being untrue. and being full of lies and scaring people to where the Democrats want to take their messaging or some of the voting platforms that we propose. So we have to make sure we get truth in messaging out, and also that we have leaders who allow each other to debate the issues and put forth their ideas for the betterment of the people. So we really have to make sure, what I learned from 2018 is that, again, people were voting more their party affiliation and not voting candidates. So what I'm trying to make sure that we really do is reach out these independent and NPA voters and make sure that they understand what our message is and what I stand for in the correct way, and not just from getting their news from Fox News or from a president's tweet or, his public rallies that are full of lies and misinformation.
Yeah. For real. But yeah, I was looking at your website and you have a lot of great, really progressive positions on a lot of issues. It seems right what the country needs, and hopefully your district will see that, when voting. Like, so in 2018, you could campaign in a normal way. 2020, of course, is a very different situation. Like, how have you been trying to get the vote out or the word out? Like, if you can't go knocking on doors or go to public spaces and do meet and greets and things like that, like, how are you reaching out to potential voters and constituents?
Well, it's been wonderful because it actually has prompted us to make sure we really upped our social media game. So making sure we're very active on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, making sure that we're getting our text messaging out, increasing our mailers to constituents. So our mailer has started to go out. Our postcard writing parties have gone out, and we're doing a lot of no-knock mail drops. So we're doing a lot of distribution of literature, which we would have been doing if we were doing the knock to doors. And when we do knock to doors, if we knocked on maybe 30 doors, if we talked to 4 or 5 people, that would have been an average of the day. So most people aren't home or they're not answering their doors to people they don't know, and I get that.
Sure.
And so we would leave the drops with the literature, which we're still doing anyway. And I really like to see people getting out more and learning about their candidates. So maybe this will prove for people to reach out to web pages to seek out the candidates to learn more about them. We also do town hall meetings. We do Sunday Night Live chats, and everybody can participate with them in the Zoom. And my parents are in their 70s, so it's wonderful to watch them even with their homeowners association now Zoom. So you have all people on the board who are learning this technology, and it's nice to watch them move forward where they might not have if this kind of environment hadn't forced us into this. So I think we've all moved forward into different outlets, and it has really been beneficial for us to learn new ways to reach people.
That's really good. Yeah. I mean, do you think that it in some ways evens the playing field in terms of advantage? Like if Webster, I was reading up on him, has been the congressman there for about 6 years. He's got incumbent advantage and potentially money advantage because of that. And then do you think that having virtual events, being able to reach out to people in kind of new and novel ways helps even out the playing field in that way, do you think?
For me, it's helpful, but for Webster, he doesn't do any of that. He kind of goes into this like he's got it won. He just looks at the statistical numbers where Republicans are about 50% of the district. We have Democrats about 27%, but the NPA independent vote is 23%. Those are about our numbers here. So he just goes with this is a win for him, and he really doesn't do any outreach. It's one of his critiques. Even the Citrus Chronicle, when they critiqued him in 2018, was that you need to do more outreach with your constituents and be more visible and have more of representation with your constituency. He just you don't really see him very much.
So he's mostly just out of the district most of the time.
He's running on R. He's a Republican. He's running on the R to bring him through.
Okay.
A lot of money. He does have a group that he works with to coordinate his campaign, but basically it's mailers.
What I found really funny was going on your website, and basically it's just really positive. I believe everyone should have equal right, just really all the things are just well, obviously this is good stuff, but it's so funny to think there are people who actually don't agree, as in I find it really funny to think there are people that don't agree with the things that you've got, that you're supporting, because obviously it's funny calling it progressive, because I feel like it should just be what it is, but I guess we take a lot for granted because we're in the UK and we have healthcare, and all these things over here, but it's amazing to think that that's not, that's not just supported by everyone in America. Like, oh yeah, of course everyone should have affordable healthcare. Like
something that you might recognize, Tara, is a politics of fear. So, of course, you have competing people running for office with different ideologies. Corporate America, I think, has really taken a lot of control of the Republican Party. So they have a vested interest in representing and getting reelected Republicans. And that goes with the tax initiatives that they've gotten, the tax incentive plans, the subsidies to big business and corporations. And these are things that I think that some Democratic candidates like myself are opposed to. And it scares them to not know that they'll be making money hand over fist again, and that we will kind of try to even the playing field or try to lessen this wage gap in the United States and this wealth gap to provide for all Americans. And I think that that's what government is responsible to do, is not, yes, I want to increase people's wealth and work toward that. Nobody wants to stop somebody. I want to be rich. Nobody wants to stop anybody from being rich, right? Having money. But you cannot do that at the human cost. You cannot do that and violate ethic or moral standards. Even our Constitution, who would think that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, equality would be, those are great ideals, but did our country start off that way? No.
Yeah.
So we try to keep working toward that ideal and not give up toward that ideal.
No, that's, well, just on the healthcare thing, like as an American living in the UK, having the NHS versus when I lived in the US and paid so much for health insurance and got so much less, it's amazing. I can't imagine anybody could speak out against it, because it's like the system here is amazing. Like we're having a baby. My wife and I are having our first baby soon. And thank you very much. But she's British. That's why I live over here now.
But how are we eligible for the healthcare system? Because when we lived in Germany, even though we registered and we were citizens of the community we lived in, we still were not eligible to apply or get any healthcare systems. And it was a lot of jumping through hurdles to get my son into German school.
Wait, were you married to a German citizen, or was it just you were there?
And I'm thinking probably because you're married to a British citizen.
Yeah, I think that's probably it, because I got a spousal visa and then I just had to pay a fee, but
it's a total 90-day fiance.
Oh, no.
It's a show in the United States. It's about this whole spousal visas and people fall in love with people who live overseas in different countries and the whole relationship thing and trying to get these visas. And
yours was fairly legitimate, wasn't it, Matt?
I feel like it was pretty legitimate. I don't know. I left. Yeah, I don't know. We left in 2016. It had nothing to do with the election, but it seemed like a good time to get out. I'm not a fighter like you, Dana. I'm just like, I'm gonna leave. And hopefully by the time I get back, this will all be sorted out.
If Trump gets elected again, as a student of history, I really look at the rise of
fascism.
I remember when Trump got elected in 2016, I was in Germany, living in Germany at the time, and my German friends were just like, do you know what your country just did? Do you have any idea where this is headed? And of course, I felt I knew, but our German friends surely knew.
Oh my God, that's really scary. That actually gives me goosebumps. I was listening last year to like a psychological profile on Hitler and him having narcissistic personality disorder. And then this stuff about Trump, with all the psychiatrists signing stuff being like, he's got narcissistic personality disorder and people just not taking any notice of it. But I don't know. Fingers crossed that this election is different.
Yeah.
We're fighting. We're definitely fighting.
Yeah. Do you
we're trying to get truth out there. I mean, that's the hardest part, because really what we're fighting right now is Fox News.
Right. And disinformation on Facebook and various are you hopeful? Because I think between 2018 and now, is that when Florida re-enfranchised a number of like new voters that I think had been disenfranchised because of felony convictions and things like that?
Yeah, that's going to the courts every day. So that's like a volleyball. Where is it at this time? Because every time it goes to the court, it's flipping. And so, of course, they're appealing the court cases. Right now, it's still in court, and they're deciding they cannot vote again if they have not made restitution and finalized all restitution. So that's where we're at right now. I think that this will get all the way to the Supreme Court to eventually hear. But right now, they cannot vote if they haven't finalized restitution. And a lot of felons are afraid because they don't know. They get out and they've been out maybe 10 years or so, and they're like, did I finish my restitution? I'm not even sure, because it just gets dropped after a certain time.
Yeah.
So they're afraid because they're like, if I go register to vote and I really didn't finish my restitution, then then committing another crime because I really wasn't eligible to vote. So
Right.
it's been tricky.
Yeah, disenfranchisement it's such madness. Are you in your district? Are you reaching out to try to get new voters? Or are there organizations who are doing that? Because I know there's like Fair Fight 2020, Stacey Abrams group, which is trying to get out, find new voters and register new voters. And
right. So we definitely have the and I don't remember the name of the organization that is working with the felons to refranchise them and get them registered to vote and to find out if their restitution is owed. And we have a lot of groups that have put money forth to pay off restitution. And more who just joined in for that. I don't know if you've heard of Morgan & Morgan. You know, he's the tax attorney here, and he's out of Florida. Morgan & Morgan. He fights. So
yeah, I think I've seen these.
Yeah, he has also started an organization to pay restitution costs for felons who need that. So we have a lot of groups working toward those efforts. We have, of course, the state party and the local Democratic organizations have been making a mass effort to register people to vote by mail and have been highly successful. And we have a lot of voter registration drives. You would be surprised how many people are not registered to vote. And since Black Lives Matter, we have had a lot of churches and a lot of pastors in our areas, because we do have a lot of Black churches, Black pastors in our area who have been working specifically with the Democratic parties and the Republican parties both ways, because a lot of them are nonpartisan, to register their constituents to vote. So we have put a mass effort forth in Florida.
That's great.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic.
It's really amazing. Yeah, I'm registered to vote by mail. As soon as when I get my presidential, my November ballot, I think I'm gonna mail that in immediately.
Yes, immediately. Those drop at the end of September. I think September.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So essentially, we can all blame you for Trump getting in. So thanks a lot, Matt.
I tried so hard. I bought 2 stamps.
Yeah, for 4. I know when we were overseas, I would mail that back immediately.
Yeah.
When we lived in Germany and we're in South Korea. But we would make sure we had a lot of postage on that. But overseas ballots have a 2-week window of grace. That is why they used to say a lot of times military ballots didn't count, was because they were coming from overseas and they would get counted up to 2 weeks after. But the numbers of those ballots were not significant enough to change the results. But now when we look at the Andrew Gillum race and we look at the Bill Nelson race back in 2018, where the margin of error was like less than 1% and such, less than 3%, that these ballots, every single ballot counts.
Yeah. That 18, that Gillum and Nelson race, those races, those were hard. I can't believe that was.
Drove Gillum right off the edge.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it was just like, and 2018 was such a good year for Democrats, and it was such a bummer to see Republicans kind of pull ahead in Florida, and hopefully.
But don't think of it that way. Think of it as we turned the house, we flipped the house. Imagine if we hadn't flipped the house and there was no control at all on Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That was huge.
You're right. No, you're much more positive than I am.
I'm a very positive person.
Yeah, you are. So I'm glad you're running for Congress. Can I say so the first thing you see on your website is the Dana for Congress, the Dana Dares logo, which I think is very cool and is very immediate. It's very bold, and it's just like, I'm daring to change all these things, and when we dare, we win. I think that's such a great slogan. I think was that you that came up with that, or?
Yeah. We were in the car on the way home, and we were trying to play with words, and we were like, 2020 vision. And we're like, oh yeah, everybody will go with clear vision for 2020. And that wasn't good. And so then we started to play with verbs that went with Dana, and Dana Dares, and it popped up. I don't know if you remember that thing. It was on Twitter, I guess it was at the time, or Snapchat, of damn Daniel. Do you remember that with the kid with the sneakers and stuff? So we started making fun of all that, and then it was Dana Dares, and we started talking about Double Dare, and that game show for kids that was on.
Oh yeah.
So Double Dare, and we liked it, and we were I have a lot of younger people work with me too, and we were kind of upset after 2018. We were kind of angry, like and we were just It was like you saw, like an in your face kind of thing. And we go out on the campaign trail, and it's very effective because we ask people, we dare them to shut off Fox News. We dare them to read and to learn what they're talking about. And we dare them to take an active participation in their democracy and to come out and join us at events. And you have to, if you're going to keep a democracy, you have to be involved.
I love it. I think it's bold, it's progressive. Sometimes I feel like Democrats are afraid to be really bold because they feel like people are never going to believe you're coming out with these big ideas, and they're like, well, we can't get people to go along with them. And it's like, I feel like if you just explain to people the quality of your ideas, which I feel like there's a high amount of quality.
Well, like Terrence, who would think that these would be things you wouldn't agree with? It's hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It seems like common sense, but it's like, and that's the thing. And you see polls where it's just like, yes, people love all the things in Obamacare, but when you call it Obamacare, people are like, brr, and it's like,
yeah.
So I mean, but it's like, it's the thing. It's these are things that people want, that these are things that people should know we need, and I think going out there and being unapologetic about it and bold about it, that's so great. And I do think that Dana dares. It's simple and it's so evocative of and just establishing what you want to do when you get to Washington. So I applaud you for that. That's really great.
And I also really like that you're so positive. And I think that, as you said, the thing of like the politics of fear, I think that is the main thing. Like I said it to my husband, we were watching Donald Trump the other day on TV, and I was just like, can you see how his whole focus is instilling fear in people about voting for Joe Biden? It's like things are going to be worse, and he's not talking about, he's actually really gone away from the thing of things being better with him and really focusing in on the fear of the opposition and how much worse things will get for people. And I think that, that politics of fear is really dangerous. And I really love that you are so positive and that you are, challenging these things. And I really hope that people who are listening to this do check out your website. Well, if they can vote.
I'm sorry, this won't. I wish we could do more to boost you, but unfortunately, that's not the format of the podcast.
They do have Americans Abroad. Have you ever heard of them? Yeah, they're a political group, Americans Abroad, and they do a lot of political postings. So if you got into them, maybe they would run the podcast as this. I do also try to, for the email addresses that we have, the voters reach out to our Americans Abroad, and I was individually emailing because I couldn't do a group mass emails to say, hey, I'm running. And we did get some positive and some negative feedback from that in 2018, but I have asked for those overseas roles again, and people who have emails I'm going to try to reach out to.
Oh, great. That's really great. Often when you're, being abroad at this time is frustrating because you want to be able to participate and do things, and it feels like you're so far away from it.
But you still can, because even Black Lives Matter, they had international marches of solidarity all around the world. I remember living in Germany in 2016 when Trump was elected, and we were doing the Me Too and the women's marches, and I was able to do a women's march in Germany, in Heidelberg, and march with them, and that was in solidarity with the United States movement. So it's wonderful to have that international feel and experience also. And still be able to get involved. And I also feel when we live overseas, it makes us more involved in that we find out about who's running for office, and we seek out those websites. And people in the United States get a little lazy about that because they don't seek out the information.
You get complacent about it. Yeah, I don't know. Being away from the U.S. has made me very much, I feel like I think about it a lot more maybe than when I don't know. It's like absence makes the heart grow fonder, I suppose.
Wow, that's had the opposite effect on me. I've completely disengaged from Australian politics because I can't keep up with it because they seem to have different prime ministers every 5 minutes. But I will try and maybe get more involved. I don't know. You're making me feel slightly more patriotic now.
But interesting. When I lived in New York, like even in Florida, like people would ask, well, where are you from? And you'd be like, from Queens or from New York or, from Florida. But when you go overseas and people ask you, where are you from? You say the United States. And I realized that the first time I traveled overseas that I had never said to somebody when they asked, where are you from? And I said the United States. I would never do that in the United States, only when I'm abroad. So Tara, that was interesting how you say about being patriotic or,
Yeah, I do love Australia actually, but I've grown fond of it now that I'm actually it's funny, you do grow in some ways more fond of the idea of some, the country that you're from when you're away from it. I was wondering, did you have any more questions, Matt, for the present, or should we move to the 6 months questions?
So I would imagine campaigning is stressful. You're also a teacher. You still teach social studies?
I'm not teaching right now, off in June, because campaigning is a full-time job.
Oh,
and
okay.
that limits some people too from being able to run for office, because you cannot do this and work another job. It's just impossible. You have so much responsibility, and you are running an organization. I'm running an organization, and I would represent almost 600,000 voters. So you have to remember, I have to coordinate, over a distance and a time of all these spaces, and to coordinate the yard signs and the mailers and the speaking events and the volunteers and the school groups that want to get involved. It is a massive undertaking.
That is huge. I had no idea it was so many people. That's massive.
We're the second largest district in Florida.
Really?
Wow.
11.
Wow.
And the one that's larger than us, I think, is only by 2,000 people.
Wow.
That just means I need more petitions to get signed to the petition sign ballot season.
Oh gosh, yeah. But no, I was gonna ask. Yeah, you're very positive. Has the campaign just kind of consumed your whole life, or are there other things that you're kind of into these days? Just kind of just fun things you do to take your mind off it, or
I read.
really?
I love to read. Mm-hmm. That's like my favorite activity since I was a little kid. So, and then my son is doing homeschool. He's doing Florida virtual because of the pandemic and stuff. And my husband actually works in Okinawa right now with Department of Defense. So my son was supposed to start high school there, but because of the COVID restrictions, he can't fly and get there. So
what a bummer.
Florida virtual here. So I'm his school teacher now because he drives me crazy. He's like, come on, get on your schoolwork. And he's like, Mom, I want to play my video game. And I'm like, if you were in school, you'd be 6 hours a day. You are not making 6 hours a day on your virtual right now. So
wow, that's tough.
And
what is it, that Tiger King or something was supposed to be?
Yeah, Tiger King was good. Did you watch it?
Watch it? No. I'm not really a TV person. I don't really.
Dana, you got to watch it. You're going to love it.
My husband watched it.
You're you live it every day.
I know. Actually, they're right down the road in Tampa.
No. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you could go and visit. That is so exciting. Maybe you could make a documentary about you visiting. That would be
visit
great.
What? Isn't he in jail now?
Yeah, but the tiger sanctuary is in Tampa. It's right there by the Citrus Mall there.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. That could be part of the campaign.
Go there, but we hadn't gotten there.
Yeah, well, it's probably not a great thing for your campaign then to have like a load of pics with you and the Tiger King tigers.
Well, actually, it's her, right? Isn't it her? She has that place. I think it's her place there.
Oh my God, I love her so much. As in, I don't love her, but I love the character of her. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Again, this has come up before. She did murder her husband, right?
No, we don't know that for sure.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, she fed him to the tigers, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's pretty suspicious, but there's no genuine proof at this stage, Matt. So we're not going to make allegations that we don't have proof.
Know about it would never have watched the show.
You have to watch it because once you've watched it, I think you're going to be like, oh, she definitely did it.
Allegedly. No, it's good. You should focus on reading important things for to prepare you for Congress.
God. Just enjoy. Yeah. Don't waste your time. At the same time, totally watch it. I loved it. So essentially, in 6 months' time, do you have any massive swing predictions? Like, it could be crazy. It could just be about what you believe is going to happen in the solar system. Anything you want. What do you think is going to be happening in 6 months' time?
Okay, so I think I want to say transportation. So we just saw David Blaine go across the Arizona desert with those helium balloons. So are we all going to have our helium balloon system soon in 6 months? That will definitely save on energy. But then the balloons, they pop and they go into the system, the ecosystem. So that's not good. But then Japan also has their flying vehicles. I don't know if they previewed their flying vehicles. I don't know if you've seen this. They're electric. So
Oh.
it could be like the Jetsons in 6 months, where we'll all be flying our little electric vehicles around town.
Oh my God, this is amazing. I
Do
love
you
this
think-
prediction.
Flying cars and helium balloons.
Yeah. I feel like
This
that's
is the
going to be, you're going to have like some people with flying cars, and then real hipsters are going to be like, I've got my artisanal balloons and that's how I get around.
That would be great.
Oh, that's amazing. That's one of our best.
A Mario version of Pop the Balloons with the people in the electric cars going out the
Oh, that's awful. Anyways,
That'd be epic.
Real life Mario Kart.
Do you
That's
have
so
any
amazing.
hopes for 6 months' time for yourself? Like as in, obviously, I'm assuming that you would hope to have won the election, but is there anything like in particular that you would like to be happening in 6 months?
I hope that people remember to love one another.
Oh,
I hope they remember we're not the enemy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I keep hoping that this is some kind of fever that'll break and that people will kind of go back to thinking of each other as human beings again. I don't know. Like,
We all have feelings. We all have emotions. We only want what's best for our families.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it is a dark time, but I think hopefully there's some light. And yes,
fighting for, no matter what the results of the election for. You never give up, never surrender. You're a sci-fi fan. You should know that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Galaxy Quest, all right? Never give up, never surrender.
Yes. By Grabthar's hammer, you're right.
Exactly.
All right. So Dana, one other thing that we do, because we're not going to say goodbye to you, because through the miracle of editing, this conversation will continue seamlessly. Podcast comes out. But one thing we ask our guests to do is to start a sentence that they don't know how it's going to end. And then when we start the second part of the interview, that they'll end the sentence.
Or it could be a joke if you want to make a joke. It doesn't have to be. It could be whatever you want. Basically, you just have to do the setup or the beginning of the sentence now. And then you've got 6 months to think about how you're going to end it.
Okay. So how about this? Dana dared to run for office and
I lost.
Oh.
I'm very sorry to hear that,
Sorry
Dana.
to hear that, Dana.
Yes, me also. It was
I
quite
voted for you.
disappointing. Thank you so much.
I didn't because I wasn't allowed to.
Yeah, you're not allowed to.
We actually lost a percentage point from the last election. So.
Oh, that must have been so disappointing.
It was an analysis of the voting record just goes to show that there were a lot more people who came out to vote. So a lot more Republicans came out. It was a very vested election and tensions got very high at the end. Obviously, we had that insurrection on January 6th. So things got very heated, and there were people in my community, Crystal River also, Hernando County, who did partake in some of those activities at the Capitol. So it was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's really full on.
Well, I was going to say the guy who won, Daniel Webster. Well, I thought, now that you're not running for office, we can just talk shit about him. But he was one of those jerks who, one of the congressmen who voted against the certification of the election. And I was just like, God damn it.
Yes,
it's so
he just
annoying.
voted against the package to the bill for the relief bill, and he
The
just
COVID
voted
relief,
against the package to reform police activities. That vote just came out too, and he voted against that. So it was typical. We knew what his voting record would be. It's not a shock.
Yeah.
God.
Well, yeah, but I'm sorry you lost. That's a shame. I like I said, I voted for you. I told all the people I knew in Hernando County, which was basically my parents, to vote for you. I also donated some to your campaign. So I was happy to support you and invest in your campaign. But I mean, it ended up being a very tough election particularly for down ballot Democrats, which was a shame. And I thought quite surprising, actually. I thought, because turnout was really high, and that was great. And then it turned out that a lot of that turnout was against Democrats too, so it was unfortunate.
It's interesting to start looking into the psychology of the vote and why people are voting the way they were. And it's interesting to see how many people are supporting Democratic initiatives right now who might have voted Republican. But I was on pins and needles for the Georgia Senate race, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah. That was some good news. Yeah. I was very invested in that too. I sent some money to Raphael Warnock and The other guy.
Oh, Ossoff.
Ossoff.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't think of his name, just went right in my head. But yeah, so that was a bit of good news in what was otherwise a pretty dire January.
It was funny because for Christmas we went up to the Carolinas and we drove through Georgia. And so it was in the heat of the election season, and we ended up diverting through Atlanta for a time. And there were people in the corners all over the place for Warnock and Ossoff. It was really nice to see. You could see a lot of campaign posters flying around, and the radio announcements, every commercial was an ad for one or the other of the people running, and it was quite outrageous to see how much was going on there politically. But it was interesting to see how many people were involved, and it's nice to know that people are getting active into their politics, because that's the only way we can make change.
Yeah, I mean, that is certainly very encouraging that people were so engaged. Yeah, and like you said, like the proposals, especially like the COVID package that the Democrats are proposing, it seems very popular. At least individual parts are very popular. I think it's the same issue with like Obamacare, where like individual parts were popular, but then some people were just against the whole anything, namely Republicans seem to be very much against it, which is terrible.
What I find so funny was the Republicans were talking, the biggest thing about the health care initiative for the Affordable Care Act was the use of death squads, right? They were going to have these death panels that people would have to go against and see if they would live or die. And what actually happened was we had COVID, and we actually had death panels where people were admitted to hospitals or not with the overcrowding, and they were sending people home and saying, we can't help you, you're probably going to die, and we'd rather take in people to the emergency room who we think we can help survive.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Texas was turning people away. There was another state too turning people away because they were so overwhelmed with numbers.
Yeah. So, unfortunately you lost. So I don't know, what have you been up to since then? I mean,
exciting times, I'll tell you. So my son has been doing Florida virtual school. He was doing that, so he was home doing that. So I was kind of like teaching him and working through Florida virtual with him.
Right.
Got to walk with my mom all the time, every day, and was going to the Y because they reopened the Y, so doing some classes. And then I got hired back into Department of Defense education activities, so teaching again. And I actually got hired into the same school my husband's at here in Okinawa on Kadena Air Base. So I teach 7th grade U.S. history at Kadena Middle School, and I'm absolutely loving it. My son and I got to Okinawa. We got to Tokyo in January, like January 1st, actually. We had to quarantine 14 days, so that was interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 14 days in Tokyo. We had to quarantine, nasal swab tests and such. So then we were able to fly, but because we were flying commercial to Okinawa, when we landed in Okinawa, we had to quarantine another 14 days. Nasal swab again.
What? Oh my goodness! That's
so you spent
crazy.
all of January in quarantine.
Yes,
basically.
yes. Actually, we did 28 days in quarantine. So
oh my God.
I got to play a lot of my little fish and those games that you play like Sudoku and stuff.
Oh wow. Yeah, did you feel like you were losing it at any point? Like, that's a long time to be in quarantine.
Yeah, well, we could go out to go for walks, but we were not allowed to socialize or interact with anyone. We had to have people grocery shop for us and bring food, and they leave it outside the door. And you pay through PayPal or kind of different pay app. So.
Oh, that's good that they let you go for walks.
Oh yes, they did let us go for walks.
Because in Australia, they don't. If you're in quarantine, you're not allowed to leave the hotel room. Which is why I'm not going back at this point, because I can't do that.
How long has it been for you, Tara?
I've not been home in, I guess, about a year and coming up on a year and a half now, which is really sad because my grandparents and everything, and my parents would just so love to see the boys, and it's really tough for them, because they're missing out on seeing them grow up. But at the same time, it's like, well, 2 weeks in a hotel room with 2 toddlers climbing the walls and not being able to go for walks or leave the room, it's just unbearable, the thought of it. So it's hard enough as it is.
Vaccination?
No, I'm not.
No.
I don't think we don't. Yeah, I don't think we're for a little bit. I think they are going to start doing the next group, which I think is like over 40s or maybe over, but yeah, I know they're just doing under 65s. They're starting under 65s at the moment.
Yeah.
Since we're teachers, we're getting ours Tuesday, our first round.
Oh, great.
Yeah, the Moderna. My parents and my in-laws all of their friends, they all had their second shots already in the States. They're in Florida. Matthew, I don't know if your parents got their shots.
No, they got theirs. My parents both got their second shot in early February. So yeah, they were able to just like, I think they made an appointment with like the pharmacy at Publix, which is just a grocery store chain there.
Right.
And yeah, and they just got them done, which was great, which was a huge relief to me because they're both in their 70s now. And actually my mom, because she got vaccinated, she was able to get knee surgery the other day. So
wonderful.
Oh, fantastic.
That was really great because she'd been putting that off for too long.
They're starting to get back to normal.
Yeah.
So what's it like living in
Okinawa?
Yeah.
Well, it is absolutely beautiful. It's an island. It's a small island, so we can see and travel within the island. But it has a rich culture and a rich history, so that's nice. And they've opened a lot of activities. We're just starting to open up some activities for going places and doing things with the dining situations and the gyms and such. Next week we're going on a whale watching trip, so we're taking the boat out to do some whale watching. And as the weather gets warmer, more water sports and snorkeling off the reefs, beautiful reefs. We're right actually about a block from the beach, so from my windows I can see the sunsets and the water and the beach.
Oh, nice.
We're on the East China Sea side, so it's the East China Sea is on one side and the Pacific Ocean's on the other side of the island.
Wow. And how does your son feel? Because obviously it's quite a well, I guess all ages of children are important ages, but it's like that really kind of, they're working out their identity, I guess, when they're teenagers and stuff. And how is he feeling? Were you there before and then you went back to America and then you came back again?
Yeah, so my son was born in Florida, but at 3 months he went to Korea. And then we lived in Germany for 11 years. Then it was Florida for 3 years. And the half year in quarantine, with COVID, and then we're in Okinawa. So he's traveled all over. He's kind of used to making new friends and being in Dodiya schools, and he's really happy to be back, actually. And he loves Japanese culture. He's all about Dragon Ball and anime, and so manga. So he's in his niche. We go to the mall, and they have all the stores with like all of that stuff, anything you could imagine. I don't know if you know Attack on Titans, and he watches all those shows and all the characters are everywhere, so it's been quite a hit to our purse.
Oh, that's great that he enjoys all that. Yeah, so what, because I always think we've been talking about moving to Australia and whether we want to do that, and I get all nervous because I think, what about the boys, and they've got their friends here, Charlie's got his little friends and he's just settled into nursery, and I think he'll have to make new friends. I think it's probably just maybe it's my own anxiety from my own childhood about like making friends and school and stuff, and I'm like maybe putting that onto him, and actually he would be fine. How have you ever worried about that sort of stuff?
I did, but I find that like even when a child falls and skins their knee, it's more our anxiety that they pick up on and not what they're experiencing. So even when Nolan was younger, he was at the daycare on base, but then we wanted him to go to German school. So at 3, we put him into German school so he would learn German, and he was totally inundated. Just start speaking German now, and he did. He learned German, and he went to German school, then he went to American school. And what I found is it was very flexible, and the more he went through it, it was fine. And the younger they are and the more we get them used to it younger, I think it's better.
Yeah.
That's really, and I think you're absolutely right. I think they pick up on our anxiety, and that's why I try and appear like I'm really calm. Like even if I'm not calm inside, like just try and like make them feel that, just feel assured. Like even if we go to the park, like just be like, well done, reach your hand there or whatever, instead of being like, don't slip, like as in like just trying to appear calm and help them to be calm.
Matt, you'll be there soon.
Yeah, I don't know, we'll see. Right now he's just kind of, I don't know, well, now I'm just like, my big thing is like, he's still breathing, right? Like he's still, like very much like yesterday I put him in a little, like a baby Bjorn harness, and I just like took him out for a walk so that Alice could get a break and I could get some exercise. It was probably good for everybody. And he fell asleep in it like almost immediately. But then I was like, he's been asleep a long time. Is he okay? Like, is he like, oh my God, is he like strangled by this thing, or just all this anxiety of
yeah,
I don't know, he's so fragile. But
in Korea, it was amazing. The women had these wraps, and it was like a blanket, and they were able to make like this harness that they would throw like a sack, and they would just throw it over their back with their child in it, and you would think that they were going to fall out every time. And I've seen them walking around Seoul and Busan, and the babies were just in there. It's amazing.
Actually Tara gave me a wrap which goes around the chest, and then it's which is great around the house. But yeah, and he seems to settle down in it. I'm still getting the hang of getting it quite correct, because it's a little bit, it's just a long strip of cloth, so then there's an elaborate folding technique that goes into
and you have to get their legs in the right spots. And, I was always correcting my husband when he did it.
Yeah, we're still getting the hang of it.
Thing down.
Oh yeah. He doesn't like to be swaddled. We put him in like a little sleeping bag to sleep, but then like when we try to I've tried to like swaddle him, and either I'm bad at it, which is probably, or just he hates it. So we usually just put him in the little sleeping bag so he can flail his arms about. So.
Oh, so cute. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's so good. Which sort of leads us, I guess, into that thing of like, what's next for you? And I guess that is like, you are doing teaching, and you're in a whole brand new country. Like, there's so much going on. But I will say, regardless, what's next for you, Dana?
Well, continue teaching, and we're planning our vacations, so that we love to travel, and we love to see the world, and open our son's eyes to the world and different cultures and people and experiences and perspectives. And I think that being able to have that is what gives me, what Matthew was saying, a more progressive kind of idea of helping those and seeing things from different sides and opinions, and respecting the cultures of others, and wanting people to have a chance and carry forth. So not this coming summer, but the next summer, we're planning our trip to Africa. So we're really excited about that, hoping everybody's quarantined and done, and COVID and shots.
Yeah.
So we really want to show that continent to my son, and some of the culture and the places there. And then the other place, since we're close to it again, is, and we hadn't gotten there, we had wanted to, so I want to see the Himalayas and Kathmandu and
amazing,
Nepal, and go up to that area, maybe do Mongolia.
That'd be so awesome. Well, I hope that really goes beautifully.
How long do you think you'll be in Japan?
We'll be here a while. My son will graduate here. We'll stay here until then. So Dia can transfer you at any time. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that happening right now. I see us staying here until we decide to transfer, or something comes open that we can transfer for. But my husband, he's a drummer in a band. He does that on the side. He's the librarian at the school. So we're quite content. Like I said, my son loves the culture, and there's so much travel to do here. We want to go to Australia, see New Zealand, of course, and go to Malaysia, Thailand. There's just so much, Cambodia. Just wonderful,
that's great.
Places to see.
Well, that's amazing that you have that kind of opportunity.
We're very, very lucky.
From that base. That's one of the things about moving to the UK is like, now I'm like, I'm just going to pop over to Europe. Well, when we could travel, I was like, I'm going to take the Eurostar. And I can just go to Paris. Like, it feels so foreign, but so like amazing. So, because
have you done it though, Matthew? Do you
travel?
Good.
We well, not this year, but we've been to Paris a few times, and it's it's nice. Not even and it's nice to be able to go for a few days.
Okay, so even as the kids grow, I used to prep Nolan. He loves to travel. And some of his best memories is traveling, and he'll say, hey, we need to go to a museum, or we need to see this art piece, or we need to go, there's an exhibit coming to town.
Wow.
And, he's 15 now, so just keep emphasizing those positives, and they pick up on it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, that's a really lovely sort of theme to kind of, an encouraging note to sort of end on. Yeah. And it's been so wonderful to talk to you, Dana. I've really loved seeing you, and I'm really sorry, about the election. Yeah. But I really hope that, things are going great in the future, and all the very best for your travels and all your plans coming up.
For all of us.
Yay, for all of us.
For all of us, yeah. No, that's it. Just, sounds like you landed in a good place, and
it's made me a better teacher.
Oh, that's good. Well, best of luck to you, and everything. So take care.
Thank you, you guys too, and hugs and kisses to the kids and the husbands and wives. And it's been a wonderful experience. Thank you very much for having me.
Do you remember? Did you know what we talked about? I just listened to it, and I
so we
forgotten.
talked about. I just had a balayage haircut.
Oh right,
Which
haircut.
do you know? It's so funny because my hairdresser actually messaged me the other day saying that they're opening in April, and would I like to book a thing? And obviously, I was like, yes, please. Yeah, I don't know. It's been probably since I had that last one 6 months ago that was like my last hair appointment. So that was really nice. Funny listening to that, being like, oh wow, like it's been 6 months since I could get my hair cut.
I don't remember the last time I got my hair cut. I had Alice do it. I meant to have her do it before the due date so that newborn pictures with Tavish, I wouldn't look like a horrible monster. But then we didn't. And so now my hair's just so messed up and I still need to get it cut. I get my hair cut, like there's a shop with 2 chairs that is in like a tiny storefront over by the university. And it cost me £10 to get my hair cut. And that's the place where I get my hair cut.
Do you miss getting it cut?
I do. I wish, I do need it cut. It's just been a mess. It does this thing where my hair is thinner on top. So then when it grows out, like the sides become really fluffy and stick out. So it looks like I have a mushroom head. It's just like so unsightly.
Well, I've, as a result of COVID, I started cutting my husband's hair like right at the beginning back in, I guess, March last year, using clippers,
Yeah.
What are they called?
Clippers, yeah.
Clippers. And I've got, I don't want to boast here, but I have got so good at it now that he's like not going to go back to the hairdressers because I now know how to like make it really tight at the sides, but take it straight up so that he's like got longer hair on top, but like really tight in on the side. It looks really like quite nice, to be honest. And and it saves us like, I don't know, £14 a month or whatever. So we're raking it in. And, your other news was that you were coming up to your 20-week scan the next day.
Yeah. We had that baby. So everything's good.
Good.
Yep, that worked out fine. No longer have scans on the horizon. Baby's born. So.
Yay. Well, my predictions were quite kind of accurate, I guess, in that I said how we'd be coming out of a horrendous February, which I think was accurate.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that's over. And it is that feeling of warmth coming up. Actually, I made a really small video. I don't know if you saw it, just about like in the UK when the sun comes out. And like in the video, I'm just like, why are there people in bikinis on the lawn? It's 10 degrees outside. And then I play a British person who's just like, what, double figures? And then runs for the door. And I uploaded that a few days ago, and that's had like over 500,000 views now on Instagram, which just blows my mind how you can just, I think it's just when things get on, I think it's just that thing of like, because people are thinking about that now, it just picks up. Whereas like, other things you can put so much effort into and like no one watches them. I don't know. It's just such a funny thing to be. I try not to think about it because it's too stressful. But my prediction was also that obviously we'd be coming up to Sammy's second birthday, which we are. It's next week. I'm super excited about that. He wants a dinosaur cake, which I've got to look at how I'm going to make that. And he's
one.
And he's going to nursery in April, which is like, oh my gosh, like it's just, I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm going to be
exciting.
In some ways, it's going to be like, I'll probably feel a bit sad and anxious at the time. But yeah, to have time to myself again, like a few mornings a week where I can like do work or do writing or do stuff that I want to do, which I've not been able to do for, coming up on, 3.5 years. So that'd be amazing. Really excited about that. How about you? Did you have any predictions for the future? I can't remember.
I remember what
your shoes.
My shoes, yeah. I should have got my shoes. Wait, they're not in here. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let's look at my shoes. Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Let's see the shoes.
They still work.
Still looking good.
They still look pretty good. They're a little well loved. I got some mud or something on them and it stained them. That's the problem with having fabric shoes. Is that they stain a bit, but I like them. They're still pretty bright green.
They're really bright green. They're a really bold shoe.
Thank you.
They match your glasses. Are your glasses sort of greeny?
Yeah, they are green. Yeah,
they're great.
Those not too long ago either.
I like these glasses. You know, you got a strong, bold look going on. Shoe glasses, shoe glasses combo.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. It's great.
I liked those shoes. They've worn really well. They are a little bit tight, and especially like breaking them in was really uncomfortable. But then I ordered another pair from the company half a size larger, and they fit fine. So that was the problem, is I got the wrong size. So my suggestion, if you want to order some, is get half a size larger. Yeah, I liked them so much I bought a red pair and I got a blue pair for Christmas, which I haven't even taken out of the box because I haven't had to go anywhere, so there's no reason to have new shoes. The old shoes are not that worn out because I hardly ever walk. So, and yeah, so
I love how puffed out you are from having to get up and find the shoes.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Well, I felt like I didn't want to. I'm gonna edit this out, but I was gone for like a minute. But I was trying to find because I couldn't remember where they were, so I was like frantically running around. I was like, I can't believe. I'll listen to the audio later, and you'll probably be like, I can't believe he fucking got up. God, nobody cares about his shoes.
Especially given that no one's going to see them.
Yeah, exactly. But you got to see them, so.
And I enjoyed seeing them. I'm grateful.
Yeah, well, thanks everybody for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts. Rating and reviewing really helps people find the podcast. We're still growing our audience. Also, tell a friend. If you think this is an interesting concept, be like, hey, I listened to an interesting podcast the other day, and it was so good, and you should check it out. But be more enthusiastic than that. That's kind of the general script, but put your own spin on it. If you want to follow us, we're at 6 Months Later Pod on all the different platforms, and you can go to 6monthslaterpod.com for our website where all the episodes are, and there's episode listings and clips of people that have been on the show and whatever. And you can also email us at 6monthslaterpod@gmail.com and let us know what you think, as long as it's nice. If people want to find Tara, you can find Tara
on Tara NW Comedy. I'm on all the stuff, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, but I hate Twitter and I don't really do much on there. However, you can still find me. If you also want to support us on Patreon, we'd be super grateful. That's at 6 Months Later, I think, on Patreon, or just search for 6 Months Later on Patreon.
6 Months Later, Patreon, yeah.
And also, Matt has Twitter and also other stuff, but he's got some absolute gold on Twitter if you want to look that up.
I'm M. Shadorn on all the things. I'm on Instagram some of the time. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I've kind of abandoned that account. But if you want to go back and dig through my tweets, you can find some really fun ones. This one is from January 18th, 2016. And it's just all caps. Death is coming for us all. And then like 5 exclamation marks. So, you know, that kind of stuff's there. I don't know what was going on January 18th, 2016, but
sounds like it was a good day.
Yeah, it was a real fun time. I sounded excited, right?
So if you want constant mindfulness content and real positive encouragement, Matt Shadorn's Twitter is the place to be.
Yeah, you just kind of have to go back through years of nonsense. But if you want to make other actual media, in fact, I have another podcast called Saint Misbehavin'. A new episode came out yesterday. It is about Saint Maud. She was a queen and a saint, so she pretty much had everything going on, but she had a really shitty husband, and it's a fun story that my friend Anna tells me, and it's a great podcast, so check it out. But thanks, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate you, and we'll see you again next week.
In 6 months. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. I'm going to perk myself up for this interview. I got my peppermint tea.